What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 61 of the Game Bowl Podcast, the official podcast of thegamebowl.com, which posts to iTunes every Tuesday and YouTube every Wednesday, and it is your weekly dose of lightning in a bottle. And joining me this week, because Grant isn't here because he has a basketball practice, nerd. Me, seriously wrecked. Joining me this week is Jason.
What's up?
How are you?
Pretty good.
Excited to talk about news from a certain company.
Who would that be?
Ouya Tuya.
Oh, I am so excited.
You are the biggest Ouya fan in
I am.
the world. And that other wonderful voice you are hearing is none other than Dylan.
The man, the myth,
our
the
Dark
legend.
Souls aficionado. I promised him at least 10 minutes to talk about Dark Souls 3. We will get to that. Not yet, but
I'll hold it. I can hold it.
we will leave you last in the now playing section, so you can just kind of go on a tangent and talk about Dark Souls 3 and not be interrupted. So you have a few minutes, so you're good to go there. But again, this is the Game Bowl Podcast, the official podcast of thegamebowl.com, which posts to iTunes every Tuesday and YouTube every Wednesday. And, as always, we're going to start with our now playing section. John says hello. Hello, John. Thank you for stopping by. Jason, what have you been playing lately?
Oh boy. I've been playing Star Fox Zero, and unfortunately, that's not a good game.
Check out his review for more extensive thoughts.
Yeah,
I was disappointed in this.
I was so bummed. I was so excited for this. I picked it up, and right from the start, I got pretty excited because they brought back like the voice cast. They brought back like the same kind of style as like what everybody loved on the 64. They tried to like culminate like everything that the 64 version did, because that's everybody's like favorite Star Fox game, and they failed on every front, and it bummed me out so bad. Like,
now, I would ask why, or I mean, because for me, Star Fox 64 is one of my favorite games of all time, and
it's the best Star Fox
it
game.
is. It is.
Other than Adventures.
Don't even.
No, Star Fox Adventures is great.
With the dinosaur in their made-up language.
It's so great. It's a good It's a good puzzle platformer.
The best part about that made-up language is there's just like some English in there. It's like broken English.
I haven't played it in years, but my neighbor had it, and like we would always get to the same part, like shooting lasers, like crystals from the stab at the dinosaur. Like general or something. It's like, what the hell? Why is this game a thing? But anyways, like what does it do that? Because you would think, it combines the original Star Fox and the unreleased but finished Star Fox 2, and with the vehicles and everything. Like, why does it not succeed as a Star Fox game?
So what it does is it literally retells the entire N64 story. It's that game exactly over again. You go to like all the same planets. It's the same exact missions. There's a few new ones, but
step on the gas. That's my favorite line.
Use the boost to get through, Fox.
Use the brakes.
Use bombs wisely.
Two barrel. Everyone knows that line.
Yeah, but no. So the stages that it does over, which is like 90% of the stages, like Corneria, Titania, it changes them up a little bit, but it's like they're so bland now. Like there's nothing there. Like one thing that I brought up in the review is in Titania, like it was a really fun mission. Like you were kind of like chasing this train the entire time, and then like the train was the boss, and there was like this big monstrosity of a creature that you fought, and like this one's just so
ways you could fight it.
Yeah, there's so many ways you could fight it, and it ended up in like different paths. And this one's just so bland and boring, and you always end up at like this giant worm, and it's just like not exciting at all. And that's like the entire game.
How do you even Star Fox 64 is like, it still holds up today as like this really fun arcade shooter, and it still has so many unique elements to it. How do you go from a game that's relevant almost 2 decades later to making something that's just as bland as it is, because everything I've seen about it, it's been like, yeah, it's a game.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing to write home about.
That's what I don't understand because like they even, delayed this to work on it for a number of more months, and it was to work on the graphics because people were complaining about the graphics, and that's not even a complaint of mine. Like I think it looks completely fine.
Yeah, I think it looks perfectly fine.
They should have spent that time like making a more interesting story, and then just fixing like another huge problem is the vehicle. So in the original one, you had the Landmaster, the R-Wing, the what was it? I don't remember what the submarine was called. It was
Oh,
like
gee, yeah, you
blue
used like it
something.
once.
But this one is like, so you got the R-Wing, which is fine, but then you have, um, it's like the gyrocopter, and it's so slow that it's just like not even fun. Like it slows the pace of the game to like 5 miles per hour.
Wait, are you telling me that Leonardo da Vinci's design for a helicopter with the big spinny thing on top and the pedals is a Star Fox vehicle?
Yep.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
what I want with Star Fox.
So, and then it's not even bad enough that that vehicle's really slow, but it has you constantly drop. You have to drop this robot down from it, and then you have to look at the gamepad, and you have to control this little robot on the ground, and you have to walk up to machinery and then like turn it off or like hack into stuff. And there's not like even like a little mini game to do that. You just like slam this robot's face up against the screen, and it just sort of does it. And like the robot talks to you, and it's so annoying. It's just like hacking complete.
So so it's like Tricky from Star Fox Adventures.
Even worse.
Oh
So
God,
like,
how's
that,
that
like the creepy robot. Actually, no, I think that was like a training mode thing. Like that really weird robot. Like they wouldn't talk, and it like just like chattered when it spoke. It was like clink 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 clink, and like it showed up all the text. Like it was in the training mode of Star Fox 64, and I always found it to
Oh,
be super weird. For whatever
Oh,
reason, I just
are you talking about Rob from the Great Fox?
not Rob, not locations confirmed, settings applies, not that guy. He was awesome. It's like I'm gonna have to look this up. Like I forget what it looks like, but I keep going. But it was written. I think it was on the training mode in 64.
Huh.
yeah. So like my last big complaint is the controls. So they want you to do two things at once. It's basically texting and driving the game. They like so they have you looking at the gamepad almost like 90% of the time. Um, no joke, because
What?
like the aiming and all that is done on the gamepad, and it's gyro controls besides. So you're like moving a screen around in your lap, and you're trying to look at it at the same time. And
This
then
just sounds like a mess.
it is, and then like the top screen is it shows where your vehicle is, which doesn't sound like a big problem because you'd think you're always looking in front of you, but there's so many missions where you have to lock onto something on the gamepad, and then on the top screen you're like moving in a totally different direction, so you constantly have to look up and down. And I would be like looking down to shoot, and I'd just be crashing into things and just falling apart. It's just a mess, just a mess.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it
God,
it, it,
that's
it
good.
just it bummed me out so bad because like
Gosh, dude.
yeah, I don't know. Like, I just don't know how they screwed that up. Like, they had so much time to get this game done and fix it up, and it's just like, man, I don't know where they went
It's
wrong with
so
it.
disappointing. It's like in the trailers, like I was, oh, I'm gonna check this because like, you the Star Fox, like you're not gonna play with the story. Like it's just like you go down one path and you complete it in half an hour, and you go down another, and it's just fun to try and beat your records. And you can beat it, 10 times in a day. And like I just love that formula in Star Fox, but unfortunately, like it seems like the gameplay just doesn't really justify being able to do that.
Yeah.
Sad.
The last thing too is even the Landmaster. They screwed up the Landmaster. Like, it starts off completely normal, but you get upgrades for it later in the game, and one of them is like it actually turns it into like a really fat R-wing, and it moves really slow. And so you can only use it as long as your boost lasts, and it constantly wants you to like fly over the top of like bosses while using that, and like
Hmm.
your boost runs out, and then you just like fall on top of like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
boss and crash, and like
Gosh.
it's just a mess. And like one of the side paths for one of those missions is to you have to fly up with the R-wing Landmaster, and then the next mission you go into, you end up in space, and then Fox is just like, oh, this vehicle's not fit for space. Peppy, you're gonna have to take it from here, and then you have to do like a solo mission with Peppy. It's just like
That's the last person I want doing a mission with.
I guess it's not Slippy, but still, it's just
Uh,
kind of like I don't know. It's really weird. Just writing and everything is weird about that game.
did they like not like QA test it that much? Like,
I don't know from like all the QA testing like responses I saw online of people that had went to events, they were complaining about the controls like a year before this game came out. So I'm just really shocked that they didn't, allow you to turn that stuff off or turn it around. There is an option to like turn it off, but it doesn't really turn it off. You still have to
huh.
like look up and down at the gamepad and screen. So
I like Splatoon where you could have used it if you wanted to, or you could take it off entirely and
yeah.
play like it had a controller shooter. But real quickly to wrap up with Star Fox, have you had a chance to check out Star Fox Guardia? It's like the tower defense thing.
No, I wasn't really interested in that at
Oh,
all, so
okay.
I haven't even popped it
So
in.
just wondering.
Yeah, but no. So I've also been playing Alienation, but
Woo, 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 woo.
I think maybe I should save that for you, Brett, since you've been playing it too. That way we
Yeah.
can get to Dylan. He can talk about Dark Souls as well.
Yeah, so real quickly, I started Persona 3. I haven't had much interest in playing some games lately, but I was like, I'm really excited for Persona 5, and a lot of people, Liam especially, recommend 3. And I was like, I'm just gonna, it's like 100-hour investment, but I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna binge play it, but just I'm gonna casually play it over time. While playing some other stuff, and I always tell myself, you're not gonna play a JRPG. Well, here I am playing that damn JRPG. Just it never fails. But yeah, it's good so far. I like it a lot, and we'll see how it goes on. But for the most part, I've been playing Severed on PlayStation Vita, and this is from Drinkbox Studios, who made the hit Guacamelee. And
I'm so happy that they when I saw that this was announced, I was so pumped because
oh
I
my
think
god, yeah,
because Guacamelee is a feat in, and if you haven't played Guacamelee, like if you ever pick it up for cheap, absolutely get it. It's one of the
yeah,
best platformers out there right
it's
now.
so good. It's so good. But yeah, like when they first announced this, I think it was a PSX 2014. I was so amped about it. Because Guacamelee is great. It's a first-person dungeon crawler with some RPG elements, and most importantly, is the fact that they utilize the Vita's touchscreen controls as the way to fight. And if you want my full thoughts, my reviews on the site as of today. But real quickly, it's it's dark and it's it has like that Mexican vibe to it that that you'll see in Guacamelee. And the main character Sasha has to go into this other world to save her family, and the story's not much beyond that. It's pretty generic, but the main focus here is the combat, and they ease you into it. You'll fight one enemy or two many enemies at a time, and you use the touchscreen on the Vita to swipe. It's almost like Fruit Ninja.
Huh.
If any of you played that, where you're just swiping up and down, but
Who
instead of
who hasn't played? If you, I hate mobile games, but if you haven't played Fruit Ninja at this point in your life, I don't know what you're doing.
yeah, the thing is like a fruit ninja, it's like a one swipe thing. Like you're swiping once for the fruit. Here, like you're swiping up and down the whole time, like up and down, sideways, diagonal, um, and it works really well. It's responsive and everything, and then it's really cool. It's a fresh take on combat, but it only goes so far because then it becomes frustrating. And I ran into some tremendously frustrating fights. Um, they start adding in, 3 or 4 enemies at a time, and it's not like a turn-based RPG where you go, I go, you go, I go. It's I can attack whenever, but the other enemies too have their own timers to win. It's almost like it's kind of like active time, but like their circle fills up, and that's your opportunity to either block it or block their attack, or attack them to like stun them and drop their gauge down to like 0. Um, and it's frustrating because you'll get 2 enemies at once attacking. It's like, well, I can't fight them both off at once. I can't. I have to take one of these attacks, and then there are certain enemies where you have to wait for them to open up to attack, and then there are other ones where like they'll they'll grow eyes, and as they grow more eyes, their attack gets ready, and you can like swipe and destroy the eyes, and their attack gauge will go down. Or you can there's like a mushroom-like enemy where you attack. It's like like the top part of a mushroom.
The mushroom cap.
Yeah, like the caps, they're growing out, and like you hit those, it goes down, and then the enemy will expose its eye, and then you just swipe away, and then you have to wait, and then go again, and then they start adding in buffs like health regeneration, damage increase, defense increase, speed increase, and it gets really frustrating. And magic defense, and it gets frustrating because you eventually gain these powers where you can freeze all the enemies at once, or you can devour their skills, so you can have a damage increase for the battle and whatever. And as you improve these skills via the skill tree, which is the RPG stuff, um, you can start gaining these perks for the battle. But it's frustrating because some enemies have magic defense; they're pretty much immune to these moves. So it's like, well, what's the point of me having these moves if I can't do anything against these enemies who are just going to block it? And it got really frustrating. But
does it do anything? Like, does it fail to tutorialize you when things like that come up?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, it definitely eases you into it. It explains, how certain enemies should be fought, what these buffs do, and
Yeah.
when you should utilize your powers. But you're fighting four enemies at once, all with different cooldowns, and you can't block them all. It gets really overwhelming, and
I don't know.
It's just it's a pain, and it's a don't get me wrong, it's a fun game, and it makes great use of the Vita's touchscreen. But
that's not a statement you hear very often.
yeah, definitely. But it becomes tiresome.
Is it only Vita?
I believe so. I believe it's.
Oh, that's so sad.
I picture this becoming like an iPhone game eventually because it seems like a perfect like iPhone or Android game.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd love to see it on like PC. Like I think that'd probably transfer over well to mouse and keyboard. I'd love to see that, or I'd love to see it on the 3DS.
I don't know how it would work because you're swiping as opposed to pressing buttons. So I don't know how they would integrate that onto a PC, and there's like a touch controller or something.
Well, I mean, you just do mouse click and swipes, kind of like like Osu.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But overall, though, it's a good game, but it gets frustrating at times. And then I've also been playing, like Jason, Alienation, which is Housemark, and it's really good. Would you agree, Jason? It's fair to say it's a lighter version of Diablo that you're killing enemies and you get loot, and you can upgrade the loot with like they have sockets, and you can put stuff to increase your ammo capacity, your critical hit chance, your fire rate and stuff.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it even has like you can go past like the maximum level, and it has like what is that called in Diablo, like the Paragon levels or whatever.
Yeah.
It's got like all that too, and then like higher difficulties give you more loot or rare loot, and then but what I really love is that it even adds in stuff from like other games like Dark Souls, like you can invade other players and they can invade you, and like all of that, like just all the little things they grab from all those other games too is so
yeah, definitely.
It sounds wacky. I like that.
Yeah, it's really cool. And being a Housemark game, the control is just like it's excellent. It's a twin stick shooter, and it feels arcadey. That like Dead Nation or Resogun, Super Stardust, all that that they've been known for, and it works really well here. And the map themselves, each map is decently sized, so you can want to explore because it'll have like a special enemy that'll drop rare loot, or a challenge we have to fight off an alien wave, and all this other stuff that is an incentive to get better loot, and then you're just constantly you get a legendary submachine gun. It's like, oh sweet, I'm set for a good while with this gun, and it just makes you a lot better. You don't have to just rely on say your shotgun or your minigun. Like you can use all three now efficiently, and you can conserve ammo in with one gun and use it in a desperate time, like a minigun or something. And it's really fun to play. I haven't played it in a few days, but it is a lot of fun. I played with Jason and Michael played it with us too, and it's hectic. We played. I think there's rookie, veteran, and professional. And professional's the hardest, but you
Yeah.
get the highest chance of getting legendary gear that way, and
Yeah, it
it's
makes sense.
really not it's not
Right.
really difficult.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm playing on New Game Plus right now,
Okay.
and I think Veteran's the hardest difficulty, and Veteran on New Game Plus. So each time you beat the game, it says like World +1, World +2. Veteran right now, so max level is 30 for your character. The enemies are like level 34,
Oh
so
wow. Okay.
they're above like what the maximum level competes. So like they're murdering us like every time I join a team.
Oh
Like
man.
we're getting murdered on like the hardest difficulty now. It's nuts.
Oh, it's so much fun now. But yeah, it's on PS4 and it's really good. If you have a PS4 and you've played games like Dead Nation or Resogun, it's different, but it still has that Housemarque feel, that gameplay that's just, in my opinion, it's just very tight and it's awesome. So check it out if you can. Colin says, so dudes. Colin.
Hey,
um,
man.
Dylan, it
Bruh.
is your time to shine.
Okay, all right, hold on.
Dark Souls 10 is out.
I gotta lean and I gotta lean forward and put my coffee down, or I'm gonna get too excited.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Okay, so I'll do a spoiler-free one, and then I'll do one where it'll just be nothing but spoilers. Um, so spoiler-free, Dark Souls 3. I got it a week late, thanks to a buddy of mine who actually shipped me a copy. And then after I got the copy and played it for a little bit, got a paycheck, I went out and picked up the collector's edition, which is worth every penny. The collector's edition was awesome. Comes with this really nice concept art book that's got concept art from 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, nice.
And it's leather bound, and it's got some high gloss pages to it. It comes with a cloth map of Lothric that I'm probably gonna frame and throw up next to all my prints that I get from conventions. I got the day one edition, so I got the download for Dark Souls, which is really nice, and then I also got the soundtrack.
Ooh.
Which is awesome because I love collecting video game soundtracks. And then I got a 16-inch tall statue of one of the armor sets in the game called the Firelink armor set, and I won't get into that for a minute for spoiler reasons because it's actually a very important armor set. It's a really nice statue actually. Because I bought some, I collect like Figmas, and I collect. I love Figma. I love collecting. I can't remember the name of it, but various other companies that do a lot of these vinyl figures. It's really nice quality. It's got high detail. The painting's really good. And it's sturdy too. Like it doesn't weigh a lot, but I feel like if it were to get like knocked off my shelf, it like wouldn't do any damage to it. Like it's a pretty good figure.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I got the Dark Souls 1 collection edition for like $20 last year, so it came with a statue too.
Yeah.
And it's not the best quality, but it's still pretty cool.
But as far as like a spoiler free, if you have been intimidated by the Dark Souls series, but you like the idea of it, as much as I have a soft spot for Dark Souls 2 because it was like my first. I played Dark Souls 1 before Dark Souls 2, but Dark Souls 2 was like the first game that I kind of made my own. Dark Souls 3 is probably the most accessible of the Soulsborne series. For numerous reasons. In one, it does a very good job of tutorializing you through every area, through every boss fight. The boss fights are all challenges in and of themselves. And if you're just playing a Dark Souls series, the bosses will take as much time to get through the boss fight as it did to get through the area to get to the boss fight.
Right.
For me, I think the only boss I had trouble with was a boss called the Nameless King. Who's an optional boss, and I had a hell of a time with him. Just got absolutely stomped, and I had a friend come in, and once I beat him, I'm like, okay, well, now I saw his moveset, I can get through him now. But it does a really good job of it does something that I think I pray that RPGs from now on adapt and it's the weapon arts. And if you haven't been following Dark Souls news up until now, weapon arts are really interesting because every weapon in the Dark Souls universe, from Demon Souls to Dark 1 to Bloodborne, and in Dark Souls 3, every weapon you pick up and every weapon type you pick up has their own special move sets. So great swords have a specific feel to them as opposed to scimitars and rapiers. And then within those sets, different weapons, like different greatswords, have different move sets. Well, then they added weapon arts, which are basically while you're dual wielding a weapon, or not dual wielding, sorry, while you're two-handing a weapon, you can hold the L2 or left trigger, and you get access to like a whole new move set depending on what the weapon is, or you get access to different ways to cast spells. And it just adds so much depth and viability to just about every weapon in the game. Because the good thing about Dark Souls is once it starts to click once you start to click with the Dark Souls series, you can pick up any weapon and make use out of it. Like there's reasons people do Dark Souls 2 ladle runs because it's where you use like the worst weapon in the game, and it's not because it's a challenge, but it's because it's actually a viable thing. Because once you have a strategy to get through the game, it has little to do with your weapon, everything to do with your skill. And Dark Souls 3 does an amazing job of making combat fluid. There's so much class viability in being able to play as a sorcerer or as a battle mage or actually archery is actually a viable main class this time around, which is really cool. So you can go like all Legolas on everyone,
Nice.
which I think is awesome because in the past like few games, range existed specifically for like baiting and aggroing and taking out enemies from a distance that you wouldn't be able to take in melee combat. But if you've been intimidated by the series, this is the one to get in on for. And then another reason is the way they revamped the online system, where you can actually play. You can put a password in, and you can play on a server that's protected by the password that you put in. So only people with that same password can summon you, and you can only summon people with that password, which is really nice. So you can essentially co-op the entire game, which is really, really cool. I really think it's something they should have done from Dark Souls 1, and I understand why they didn't, but it makes the game that much more enjoyable for people who want to play with friends, because co-op in Dark Souls is a blast. But the thematically, the game is beautiful. The world looks absolutely amazing, and it's so inspired. The music that comes up in every one of the boss battles just makes you feel like you're part of this grand and epic struggle, and you really are when you get down to it.
That was like one of my favorite things. I think it's like the second boss fight when that music kicks in.
Yeah,
it was amazing. Like in this second wave or whatever. Yeah, so good.
Yeah, no, the music is absolutely astounding in this game. It's a lot of like if you've ever listened to anything from Two Steps to Hell, it's just like the moment you start listening to it, your blood starts getting like you start getting pumped, your blood starts to boil, and you start getting really excited, and you start getting all this energy, and it does a really good job of that. Because so many of the boss fights I went into this game like, yeah, I'm excited for a boss fight, and then as the music builds, like I feel like I'm doing something triumphant.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just such a sense of accomplishment with this game. And it's a game that there's so many intricate things. Like my first playthrough took me about 30 hours, but this is from somebody who's put in a few thousand hours into Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 1. Like I love the Dark Souls series. It's one of my all-time favorite game series. And From Software is a lifetime fan in me because of it. And so now I'm going to start throwing some spoilers out there.
Wait, before I.
Go ahead.
Just make sure they're not, crazy spoilers, because some people haven't completed the game yet. So I just want to.
No. Like, well, this is like just
baby spoilers.
Yeah, no. Tune out. Maybe tune out. Maybe if you're listening to this podcast as recording, maybe just skip ahead a little bit.
Spoilers starting in 3, 2, 1.
So this game doesn't do a lot to connect to Dark Souls 2 specifically, but so much of the lore in Dark Souls 3 is based off of stuff that happens in Dark Souls 1. Like you can figure out a lot of the things that we didn't know whether or not they were canon. Like I won't spoil it entirely, but there's an optional boss fight in Dark Souls 1 to fight one of Lord Gwyn's children, and his name's Gwendolyn. You find out, and it's an optional boss fight in Dark Souls 1. You find out in Dark Souls 3 that Gwendolyn did not die to the chosen undead from Dark Souls 1, but he met a different fate, and you find that out in this game.
Oh, wow.
You also find out, and there's a very subtle moment where you find out who the Nameless King is, and it's. If you pay close attention to lore from Dark Souls 1 and you pay close attention to the specifics of the boss fight, it utterly blew my mind, some of the things that happened with that boss fight and with another boss fight that kind of throws back to Seath Scaleless. Because there's so many of these moments where you're playing the game and just one little thing clicks and it has so much more significance. And then the last boss fight is, I think objectively, it is not the most memorable boss fight in the series, but it is by far the best designed boss fight. And it is thematically the most appropriate boss fight to wrap up the series. And there's going to be DLCs, but for having the end boss fight of this game be what it is, it's amazing, because it's I'm not going to ruin too much, but basically the way the boss attacks is that it is like another player character, in that it starts out with just a long sword. And then randomly throughout the fight, it'll transform its weapon into either a staff, a greatsword, a rapier, a halberd, a lance, or a spear. And you just have to suddenly adapt to this brand new move set on the fly, and it's completely randomized. So it's like having this hardcore PvP guy just come running at you, and it's this one-on-one duel with you and this being that is the amalgamation of all of the struggle that has existed in the Dark Souls universe up until that one point in time.
Should write a book on this.
I could. I freaking love what they did with this game. It's such an amazing feat in the gaming industry, because Dark Souls has such a pedigree now, and to go out, because they said this is the last thing they're doing in the Dark Souls universe, to go out on this note specifically is nothing short of poetry.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, where does this rank among your Dark Souls series?
I think it is. I think it's the best of the. If you're talking Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, and even if you include Demon Souls and Bloodborne, I think Dark Souls 3 is the best one out of all of them, because it takes everything they've learned to do right and wrong from the last games and puts them all into one big package and does it right. I have a very personal connection to Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin, because it helped me through like a really dark time in my life, and it kind of helped me process that. But putting that emotional part aside, I think Dark Souls 3 is utterly amazing. I think it's one of those things where, looking back at this generation of games, it's going to be one of the games that has defined the way RPGs should be going forward. I really think a lot of other RPGs, in terms of combat, in terms of world building, and in terms of art direction and game mechanics, they should really just steal from Dark Souls, but don't do what Lords of the Fallen did and steal from Dark Souls and make it bad. I think it's an absolutely amazing feat in gaming, because I can't think of another game that is like Dark Souls 3. I cannot compare it to anything else.
Have you tried the demo for Neo that just came out?
I have not, but I've heard it's got some pretty interesting influences in that come from the series.
Right, because I just tried that, and I gotta say, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more if I didn't just play DS3. But after playing through Dark Souls 3 twice, it's like, how can you enjoy something else more than that? You know, I mean, it's trying to add like more to Dark Souls, sort of like DS3 did to the rest of the series, but it just doesn't quite pull it off for me. So I almost feel like they're stepping down from the series at a good time when,
Yeah.
other people are trying to step in and do other things with it. So I don't know.
It,
I mean, it was like kind of their swan song, and it's a good time to kind of step down and start trying to do
yeah.
something new.
And From Software has said that they've already announced that they're making, they're starting on a new IP. I hope they keep going with the Bloodborne series. I'd love to see more from Bloodborne. Um, but I think the interesting thing is I'm wondering if this is going to be I wonder if this is going to be something that inspires a lot of game devs and then game developers take it to heart, or if it becomes something like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, or if it becomes another Resident Evil 4, where it was a game that was so good and had such a level of success that it ruined everything that came after it because everything tried to be like it and failed at
It's
it.
just it's not. You can't capture that magic.
So I will leave it at that because I could keep talking about this
Yeah,
for the
I don't
rest
blame
of the
you.
podcast.
I don't blame you. What do you say we move on though to some news, and we're gonna start with some Call of Duty news.
Oh, Joe.
Yeah, I know you're excited for this one. So, the next Call of Duty is official. So, the next Call of Duty is going to be Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Activision put out an announcement trailer today, but it was actually leaked a few, I think a week ago or a couple days ago on the PlayStation Store. There was a screenshot of it, and there was also some, I think, stuff at GameStop that leaked. And essentially, it's going to be the next Call of Duty that's coming out on November 4th. Let me just double check that. So yeah, it's going to come out on November 4th. And just pull the story up real quickly. All right, so it's from IGN. There's a trailer and everything, and I don't really care for it personally. The trailer, it looked interesting, but it was only a matter of time before they went to space, and I was just not for me.
What a statement.
Just it's not for me. It's Call of Duty. It's gonna sell. Kyle says, "Bah, not a fan of it." Colin says, "Forget Infinite Warfare." Let's talk about something else. This this other thing, this other bit of news, I'm so excited about, but I'm also so disappointed about. Call of Duty 4, my personal favorite Call of Duty, and in my opinion, the best Call of Duty ever. Nothing will ever top it. Probably my favorite first-person shooter ever is coming as a remaster alongside Infinite Warfare. But the catch is you have to get the Legacy Edition, or I guess whatever the next edition would be,
Are you
to
serious?
get Modern Warfare remastered. So
Like there's not a chance to get the remastered
it
unless
doesn't sound like it, which sucks. It sucks.
Yeah, there's an article that came out later today, and they basically stated, and who knows if they're telling the truth or not at this point. Maybe they're just saying that because they want you to get the Legacy Edition, but they said we will not be, putting this out separately. So I was like, whoa.
I just makes me
Whoa.
so mad. So Raven Software, they're a subsidiary of Activision, is going to be handling the remaster on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. And Infinity Ward, who originally developed the game, they're actually developing Infinite Warfare. They also did Modern Warfare. They're going to be executively producing the game, and according to a press release, it will feature, quote, vibrant current generation visuals with fully improved texture resolution and in detail, high dynamic range lighting, lit and shattering VFX particles, revamped animation and audio, stunning sound, and much more. It's also going to be coming with 10 maps. It's going to come with the full campaign from Modern Warfare. It's going to come with 10 fan favorite maps. And again, this is part of the Legacy edition, which is $80.
Gotta mainline that legacy.
We should
Yeah,
call it the Legacy Edition.
comes with the Legacy Edition and the Digital Legacy Edition for $80. It includes both Infinite Warfare and Modern Warfare Remastered. The Digital Deluxe Edition, which includes the Season Pass and then 2 games, and then the Legacy Pro Edition, which includes the 2 games, the Season Pass, a collectible steelbook, an official game soundtrack, and additional digital items. And it seems like with what Jason just said, it will not be sold individually. I have no intentions of buying Infinite Warfare.
No, I don't either.
But if they sold Modern Warfare separately, I would pay.
I'd buy 10 copies.
Yes, I would pay anything for that. Like that is Modern Warfare is sublime. Just the maps were great. The gun, it's simple. A 357 kill streak. Just getting to level 50 and then prestiging. It was just it was a great game.
Here's what I think the problem with the Call of Duty series has amounted to, and it's not that it's a bad game. The reason Call of Duty games get such high rating is because they're first person shooters that really function like first person shooters should.
The gameplay's tight. It runs tremendously well.
It's just the issue is if you go back to Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2, and even 3, and then you go back to like Black Ops and World at War, the map design was, I think the map design was so much better in all of those because it really put a focus on map presence, and it really put a focus on controlling specific points in the map. And I think that was a big thing that got lost over time. And it just has completely gotten rid of weapon balancing. But I think the other thing that really drives me nuts at this point is they've lost the sense of what the Call of Duty series was, where it used to be about military intrigue. And I am not a person I don't go on and watch I didn't watch Jag growing up being yeah, let's talk about military stuff or and I don't really like the I'm not a big Tom Clancy game guy, but I really loved I like Rainbow Six Siege, and I liked Advanced Warfare or Advanced which one was
Warfighter?
Warfighter. But they did such a good job of making these interesting stories and going over the course of Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3. You look at the level all gillied up from Modern Warfare 1, which is one of the most iconic levels in the history of first-person shooters. Look at the thing that astounds me in Modern Warfare 2, the level No Russian, which caused such a huge stir. The airport one.
Yeah.
And people who didn't play the game lost their minds because you're gunning down civilians. But they took a daring risk in storytelling, and one that I wish gamers would take, or game developers would take more often, because they showed the reality of what happens in situations like that. And that level, to me, that was amazing storytelling. And then you just go to what Call of Duty is nowadays, which is a half-assed it's like a half-assed campaign that's just basically an afterthought. Multiplayer that is just, let's make it more high octane than the last one, but somehow just get increasingly bland. oh, and there has to be zombies in it. We cannot have zombies in it. Like, I feel like if you took zombies out of Call of Duty, it would just lose a massive fan base because I know people who buy the game and never touch anything but the zombies.
Yeah,
I
I don't
was
disagree.
surprised they didn't show zombies in that trailer because that's like seems to be the most popular thing now. But they did come out later and they're like, "Oh, zombies are back." But no, I watched that trailer, halfway through work today on break, and I think the only thing that excited me about that trailer was the David Bowie cover. I mean,
Wasn't
it was
crazy
good.
about it.
That was the only thing I liked about that trailer. That was like I want the soundtrack now. That's it. I'd be content.
Give me the David Bowie song and I'll be
Yeah.
good.
No, yeah. I mean, when this name first leaked, Infinite Warfare, I was like, this must be a joke. I mean, it sounds like the next BioShock game. Is this like,
Like what?
is this like is this the lighthouse? Every lighthouse ends to another war or something? What is this?
Yeah, it's.
Every zombies map is a different zombie.
Colin
always
says
a
the community around it makes it hard to play for me now. And Infinity Ward never did zombies. They do the co-op story missions and survival mode. So it sounds like Treyarch is behind zombies. But regardless,
I'm just so tired. Like it's nothing against Call of Duty. It's nothing against Activision for they're doing good business. They have a product that people want, and they do make a good product. I just
at a minimum, like 8 million people.
yeah, but like I personally just don't care anymore. I
Yeah.
don't care. And what a lazy Infinite Warfare. How long did it take you to think of that one?
All right, Johnson, to blindfold ourselves and throw a dart at the board.
Yeah, pretty much.
Warfare. We've got Taco Warfare.
All right, let's get a list of adjectives and put them in front of warfare, and whatever the first one is that jumps at us.
Yeah.
Infinite. I like it.
They're going to eventually have to reboot this and go back to the Stone Age like they did with Far Cry or something.
Oh, yeah.
I
See a
would
bunch
lose
of cavemen like throwing poop at each other or something instead of grenades.
I would suddenly be a Call of Duty fan all over again.
Yeah. Colin says it's ridiculous that 3 different companies make the same game now. Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so right.
Yeah, I'm just so disappointed that Modern Warfare 1 Remastered is behind a premium edition. Like, it just.
I will buy it if it stands alone. If not,
Yes, absolutely, I would buy it, no doubt. And it stinks that it's not the case because, again, like, that is probably my favorite first-person shooter ever. And so many people have such fond memories of that game. But which we can't play it. And it's like, like I would give anything just to have one more match, like one more day of Call of Duty Modern Warfare with running servers.
No, shush. Don't tell me things I can never have.
I know.
All right.
Speaking of things we can never have, this is some big news regarding Nintendo. So this broke, I think, the middle of last week. So we're late to the party, but we're gonna talk about it regardless. So first and foremost, Nintendo's next console, the codenamed NX, will not be showcased at E3 this year. This is from GameSpot, and the story reads: "The Legend of Zelda will be the only playable game at E3 this year." The corporation has claimed, which means other games scheduled for launch in 2016, such as 3DS titles Pokemon Sun and Moon, Metroid Prime Federation Force, and Kirby Planet Robobot, are not scheduled to get exposure at the biggest gaming event of the year. In a statement to investors on Wednesday of last week, Nintendo confirmed that The Legend of Zelda is in co-development for both Wii U and NX, and this tragic news, but partially understandable. The Legend of Zelda is now coming in 2016. It's been delayed. And the story continues. However, Nintendo has suggested that the Zelda game showcased at E3 will be the Wii U version. The corporation said, quote, "Nintendo changes its approach to the show every year. This June, Nintendo will focus its attentions on the upcoming game in the Legend of Zelda series. The Wii U version of the game will be playable for the first time on the E3 show floor. and that will be the only playable game Nintendo presents at the show in order to provide attendees a complete immersion. It added, NX will not make an appearance at the upcoming E3 video game trade show in Los Angeles in June, and it will be unveiled later this year. So,
Complete immersion. Are they going to be strapping a VR to my face?
yeah, I don't. It's also
Gonna be in the
just looking
holodeck.
it up.
Yeah.
NX release date has been set for March of next year.
Oh, wow.
Um,
It's actually a lot sooner than I thought it was going to be.
Really? Because I'd say most people thought it was going to come out. They always put out a console on, I believe it's November 21st when they release almost every one of their consoles. So everybody thought it was going to be this year.
I didn't think it was going to be until at least the summer of next year.
Wow.
Like I didn't see them coming out. It's a bummer that both of these. I'm actually and I've said this like I think every time I've come on the podcast. Good, delay things, make them good, spend the time, spend the effort. It's a bummer that it's not going to be at E3 though, or like I hope they at least talk about it. It'd be nice if they at least talk discussed it. I hope that they don't just kind of put it in the dark for E3.
They said they're not going to be talking about it at all. It sounds like.
yeah,
it sounds like they're
last year
going
it was like wait until 2016 for NX news, and 2016's here, and it seems that news is the fact that it won't be coming out this year.
Yeah, I mean, this could mean so many things. It could be that it's just not ready. It could be that they don't want to compete with the PS4K and whatever Xbox is doing. It could be that they just want their own show space, like after E3, where they don't get bogged down by all the other news, and then they kind of have the spotlight, they have the stage, they can show it off. Who really knows what they're doing? But I just thought it was so crazy that they're like, oh, by the way, it's still coming. It's coming in March. So, like, they gave us a release date, and then like no other news about it. It was just so weird. Like, why not save that release date till they show it off? It's just such a weird way to bring it up.
Yeah. Real quickly, Colin says, "What's that new thing? The Magic Leap or whatever Zelda will be on that? I don't know."
The leapfrog.
Cody says, "I really didn't think it would come out this year, so I'm not surprised." I'm still optimistic, partially with the lens that it's Nintendo. I want them to succeed. The fact that it's coming out early next year. It gives developers more time to come up with games at launch for it, and potentially a stronger launch for it. Because, I mean, we can speculate. We've been speculating since NX Rumors came out.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of what would be a NX launch lineup, and it could be unprecedented. It could be Legend of Zelda. It could be the next true 3D Mario game. It could be maybe a Metroid game.
It could be Federation Force.
Yeah, like there's so much to speculate, and hopefully third parties they improve their relationship with third parties, and maybe that'll come alongside it too. There's just like the potential is limitless for the NX, but at the same time, like I have concerns with Zelda Wii U. Zelda Wii / NX being the only thing playable on Nintendo's show floor. I mean,
that just seems like that's such a missed opportunity, and I also I don't want to say like it's unfair, like that I'm sure that like they have their reasons, but like when people are going to go to these events, they want that experience and they want as much exposure as they possibly can. It's like showing up to the party with just a thing of dip and you didn't bring any chips and because you figured somebody else would just do it for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I honestly think they're doing this because during their last direct, like they showed off some other games they're working on. Like they have that the Mario Color Splash or Paper Mario Color Splash.
Yeah,
but nobody's interested in that. I mean, in fact, they got like raged about it because of how it plays. It's like the least favorite. It works the same way as their least favorite Paper Mario game that came out on the 3DS. And I think they're honestly just bringing Zelda because that's like the one game that everybody actually cares about that has a Wii U right now. So why not put like the fan favorite game front and foremost? So.
Yeah. I mean, like I feel bad for not only the Wii U, but Wii U owners itself. Because I'm sure there are many people out there who bought a Wii U with the intention of getting Zelda Wii U, and they said, "Oh, it's coming out in 2016," and it gives them that sliver of hope. And now it's like, well, what? I mean, I will say Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Jesus, Sharp FE, which is the Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem game. That is a very niche title, and like
I I didn't
pe-
even know you were talking about a video game for a second, so it must have been a niche title.
it's a ghost story that takes place in Tokyo. But that Paper Mario game, like I just what do we as a Wii U owner, what do I have to look forward to from now March 2nd until December 31st? Like it's
I mean,
upsetting because
I mean, even more than that, like the Zelda news itself is kind of upsetting just
yeah,
because every console that Nintendo's put out, like you've had even the handhelds, like there was always a like standalone Zelda title like for that console,
mhm.
and this is the first console where it's like it never
like
got a
we've got
standalone Zelda. Like
two
it's
remakes in Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, and that's great,
right.
but it's still not that new Zelda.
It's like everybody's gonna want to get the NX version now because that's the definitive version. So it's like,
Yeah.
why did I pick up a Wii U? If I picked it up for Zelda, like I can't help but feel sorry, for those fans that picked it up for Zelda because they must feel burned.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's I do appreciate them saying it now as
Right.
opposed to come October, whenever this news comes out. It's like, man, like now, like you can prepare yourself for what am I gonna do? Obviously, nothing can replace Zelda. That idea that Zelda's here on the Wii U. Like now, you're like, all right, well, I'll play this instead. I'll play these games, or maybe I'll have. Hopefully, you have another platform, whether it's a handheld or another console, or PC to play while you wait. It's upsetting. You know,
Can I ask the question? With this delay, what does Nintendo have for the upcoming holiday season? Like what if I'm asking this
Oh
seriously.
boy.
Like what is how are they going to compete with Microsoft and Sony this holiday season in
that's the
terms of software?
problem. It's
Federation Force.
on the console front. I couldn't tell you. On the handheld on 3DS, you're gonna have Pokemon. You're gonna have
That's true.
Metro. You're gonna have there's a lot of good games coming to 3DS this year, and that have come out on 3DS this year.
Well,
But
not
that's
no one will ever be able to compete with Nintendo on the handheld market. It
yeah,
just
yeah, of course. But,
literally never happened, and they
yeah,
can
like
survive on
I'm
that
not too
alone.
worried, like financially and stuff. They have that, but I understand on the console. It's like, well,
Excuse me.
what am I gonna do for the holidays? It's
Like I want to get a Wii U because I want to get the like the HD remakes. I want to pick up Smash Brothers,
yeah, yeah.
and I want to get I'd love to get the console version of Dynasty Warrior, or not Dynasty Warriors,
Hyrule Wars.
Hyrule Warriors. Thank you. I was like, no, not Dragon Warriors, no. But like going before this holiday season, I'm like, maybe I'll just finally build that desktop that I've been wanting to build for like 6 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And because like this Sony doesn't have anything that draws me in outside of Bloodborne, and I can pick that up at any time. So I guess I'm like, I don't know, they're not really doing much to pull me in, especially, and as somebody who's like, I'm a diehard Nintendo fan, but I don't go to Nintendo first. And I'm a fan of the fact that Nintendo still understands, like, they get what video games are. Like, they
Yeah.
understand that it's supposed to be this fun
It's
thing.
just fun.
And I love that. And if I were to pick up the three major, consoles to survive like a video game apocalypse, I'd want Nintendo to be on top. But they do these weird things like this that just make me so confused.
Just when you think they're getting things right, and it's like to do this, and it's like, you're so close.
One day they'll understand how online interactions work.
I mean, having solely Zelda Wii U, which is fantastic. But I have to imagine some point someone's gonna be like, you know what? I don't want to play Zelda. I've played it once or twice. I don't really want to play it anymore. I want to try something else. And it's like, well, there's nothing else. It's like, well, dang. It's just
Yeah.
I hope the new president Kimishima can get things going. I mean, again, the prospect of the NX is super exciting, but it's just you have to wait another year for that, and
Yeah.
it's the Wii U and NX's marquee title. It's not going to be out this year.
Yeah.
It's upsetting.
It's weird and it's upsetting and it's it's Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, you hope they can get back on the right foot because the Wii U isn't what they wanted it to be, and it flopped. But I still think it's a great system. But
yeah, well, I will give Wii U the award for being the worst advertised video game system in the history of video game systems.
What a fantastic
Over
lineup!
the
Ouya? Like, well, no, like even Ouya, like what the Ouya is. Like somebody says, "Oh, it's the Ouya." You're like, "Oh, it's a little adorable little cube thing that thinks it's a video game console."
It's a Rubik's Cube, a video game.
It's just, but like I'm somebody who's very plugged into the video game industry and the video game news in terms of like I read like video game news and media outlets the same way people read like the local newspaper. Like it's what I do every day when I get home from work and like before I go to bed. And I had no friggin' clue what the Wii U was. I thought it was just a tablet that got plugged into the Wii. I didn't know it was a whole nother console until like 6 months after it came out and I saw one.
Yeah.
I'm like, how? Like, I feel like an idiot. But then I found out I'm not the only one who had this experience.
Yep. It's frustrating, but
speaking of weird console news, can we talk about the Xbox hardware stuff?
I would love to, but unfortunately we have to wrap up the show.
We are out of time, aren't we?
I'm sorry. That is going to wrap up episode 61 of the Gameboard Podcast. And if you have any topics you would like us to discuss or questions, feel free to tweet at us at @the_Gameboard. And of course, check out our site, thegameboard.com. And some of the stuff that's been on the site, my Severed review, Brian put up a piece on Doom, and just being excited that Doom is back. Ryan put up his Walking Dead Michonne review. There's quite a lot going on, and of course, Uncharted 4 is out next week, so that's going to be crazy, and it's it's going to be wild. It's
I've got my piece on Lionhead Studios going up probably tonight. Actually,
oh, that's right, yeah,
podcast too. My tribute to Lionhead. God rest ye merry gentlemen.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, this podcast posts to iTunes every Tuesday and YouTube every Wednesday. Also, Cody, Jason, are you part of this too?
Oh yeah.
Jason and Colin?
Yep.
And Colin, we're having a second podcast, a newer podcast that'll be recording every Thursday and going up every Friday. So you'll have a second podcast with a whole new crew to listen to. I'm excited to see how things go for them. It sounds exciting. It's just going to be another conversational podcast about video games, which is always excellent. So yeah, be sure to check that out. It'll probably be up later this week, their debut episode. And of course, you can also follow all of us on Twitter. Jason, where can we find you?
You can find me at J_Smash1.
Dylan, I don't know if you're still on Twitter, but where could we find you?
I don't even know. I think I have a Twitter. You can find me at, because apparently Facebook is old news now. You can find me at Facebook, 0PTIMYSTIC.
There you go. And you can find me at Brett Woodsy, WOODMANSTY. SEE. And of course, check out all of our stuff that's on the site recently. Thank you so much, guys. Take it easy.
See you.
Adios.